Hi everybody, I'm Parker and I am happy to finally announce and relieved to say that I am officially in Sweden. For those of you that don't know or haven't watched any of my previous videos, I have moved to Kalmar, Sweden from Jersey City, New Jersey. So from America to Sweden. I made this change for love. I met my fiance who's from Sweden. I met him in the States in California back in 2022. We got engaged a year later in 2023, and then shortly after began this entire process of paperwork and planning to get me here today. I'm excited to get, of course, our chapter started together, but I'm also even more excited for this personal journey for myself, what it means for me to be in a different country, and what my future self will now look like. I'll be sharing more about my life here in Sweden, what it's like to live here in this really beautiful country, I have to say. And more importantly, as always, I will continuously share messages to empower the divine feminine. So if you want to stick around, if you want to join the ride, be sure to like and subscribe. So if you are looking to relocate to Europe, or Sweden, this video will be helpful for you. I'm going to break it down step by step based on my experience coming from the US to living here. So here goes. So step number 1, you have to apply for a residency permit. Visit the Swedish migration website, and from there you're going to select your case type or your application type. In my case, I chose the application to live with the partner, spouse, or / family member. It's all grouped into one category, but it's pretty obvious, and they do explain each application type so you can make sure you are applying for the correct one. From here, you have to fill out a very, very long form of all your information, not only about you, but also about how you met your partner. The questions are going to ask you if you've been married before, what's your family background like, who are your siblings, ask you about your parents. Then it will go into asking questions about how you met your partner, a timeline of that, like an exact timeline. And if you're going back and forth visiting each other, this can be kind of annoying because they want dates. Along with this form, you also have to submit your passport. So I did have to scan and upload my US passport to my own portal. When you create an application, you kind of create your own login, your own page, so all your information is stored there. Of course, like many things that are governmental, you have to pay for this process. So it was a little over, I want to say it was between $200 and $300 just to submit the application. Once you do this, your partner will also receive an email. You have to provide their email and their information in the application. So it also sends them a notification that, hey, someone wants to live with you and we need you to fill out your own form. So they're going to have to go through a similar process of the similar questions with their own background information. Step number 2, which is everybody's favorite, the waiting game. After you submit your application, you have to get a case manager. But this can take anywhere from months to, in some cases, years. So what I've seen on Reddit. So needless to say, we were quite worried about how soon I would even get a case manager. Now, in some cases, before you even get a designated case manager, you might be asked to provide additional documents in addition to your passport. That was not the case for me, thank God. Your case manager will then email you when it's time to have your interview at the embassy, which leads to step 3, booking the interview. When your case is ready, you will get an email letting you know that it's time to interview at the embassy. In this email, and it's a long email, there's so much information on here, but it will basically tell you how to go about booking your interview at the embassy. They don't do it for you. This is really up to you. You really have to read and pay attention and then even reach out. In my case, I did reach out to the embassy directly. The time it took for me to get an interview was about 6 months. I mean, pretty much 6 months, on the 6-month mark. I then contacted the embassy with my case number, and asked when I can book an interview. Now, since I'm in the US, I had to go to Washington, D.C. to the embassy to conduct this interview. This leads into step number 4, which is the actual interview. So the interview consists of questions that are very similar to the application process from step 1. Only this time, it's way more detailed. Lots of hows. How often do you guys communicate? How often do you see each other? When would you say your relationship became serious? And they also asked me questions about his family. So they wanted to gauge how well I knew him. So keep in mind, my fiance also completed the application in step 1. So it's as if my answers in that interview were going to be cross-checked by the Swedish Migration Agency. So they can cross-check to make sure that we sound similar or that we're telling the same story. A big tip here when you're doing the interview, speak calmly, speak slowly, because they don't retract any information. They won't retract any information. They make this clear in the beginning of the interview. Basically, they'll say, give me your answer. Whatever you say, I must type, but I cannot delete. Be truthful. Everything will be recorded. Step number 5, awaiting approval. So after you conduct your interview, there is no estimated timeline after the interview where they'll say, okay, expect to hear back by X amount of date. You still don't know. It was driving me crazy. So step number 5 is basically just awaiting approval at this point. They also might ask for more documents. So the embassy did warn me about this. They did say, we're going to send this to the Swedish Migration Office. If they need any additional information, they'll let you know. I'm like, all right, fine. I have no problem waiting. I've already waited 6 months. Why not? I did get asked for more information, but I found it really strange because they asked my fiance for a lot more information, not me. So they asked him for 2 things. One was my proof of no marriage. Why not just ask me? I don't know. We already had this because, thank you Reddit, a few people on there were saying how they needed to provide a no proof of marriage record in a similar situation that I was in. So we already had this. I already requested this. This document just proves that I was never married before. Now, since I'm from New Jersey, I got this document from the New Jersey Department of Health and Vital Statistics. So I recommend jumping on this at step 1, the same time you apply for the process on the Swedish Migration website. Also get this, apply for this document. How you apply for this document is just simply going on the NJ Department of Health and Vital Statistics website. There's a document there that you can print. You also have to mail in a check. Government love that money. And depending how long, the length of time that you're looking at determines the cost. I would say it's about like $50. The second thing they asked for was photos of us. Luckily, my fiance has a ton of these and he just sent them straight over right back to Swedish Migration. Once all of that was sent back, this leads us to step 6, which is approval, baby. I received my approval status to move to Sweden a week after my fiance sent over those documents. So as soon as he sent that off, the pictures and the no record of marriage, I got an email telling me my case had been approved. But wait, there's more. So after getting approved and getting another very long email that's just overwhelming that you can't make sense of, but you do somehow, I then realized I had to go to Sweden to get the permit. They will not mail you your residency permit from Sweden. They can't do this because you have to do the biometrics. So step number 7 is biometrics in Sweden or your country. So I had to go back to the Swedish Migration website and book a biometrics appointment. You can book this appointment at any of the agency locations in Sweden. This appointment consists of 2 things, really easy. 1, they're taking your fingerprints for your card, and of course, a headshot. So another important tip, once you get the approval and you're ready to book your biometric appointment, when you go on the Swedish Migration Agency website to do so, they're going to list different locations, different agency locations. However, some of them don't have appointments for weeks, months, or at all. So as soon as you get this approval, book your appointment right away. Luckily, we found an agency, but it was really out of the way. It had a lot of appointments available. It just was in a really inconvenient location. It took longer to get there than the actual appointment itself. So be warned. So the final step, step 8, is receiving your resident card. So after you complete your biometric appointment, your residency card will then be mailed to you. It will be mailed to your Swedish address within 2 weeks. And I got mine, I want to say like a week and a half later, I got my card. Now the entire process from step 1 to step 8 took 10 months. Some people it takes longer, some might be shorter. This entire process is really unique to your situation, so bear that in mind. Based on what I've seen online, our situation was considered fast. So make sure you have all your documents, make sure you're telling the truth in your application process, be as transparent as possible, be as calm as possible in your interview, and you will then be on the right trajectory to getting your residency permit as quickly as possible. I must say though, after going back and forth for nearly 2 years, thank you remote work. Thank God, because I don't know how this would have worked out if we both didn't work remotely. It feels amazing to be here. It feels great. And I really enjoy Sweden. I think the country is gorgeous. It's obviously now the colder months, but even in the cold, when we go for walks and micro hikes, it's so nice. It's so beautiful. So I can't wait to discover and travel a bit in the country and learn more. And of course, learn Swedish. Lord help me. If you've moved abroad, if you've moved to Sweden, or if you're thinking about it, leave a comment. I would love to know your story, your experience, if it was faster, longer. Just would love to hear your experiences and of course, connect. If you found this video helpful, want to join the ride as I embark on living here in Sweden and then start this new chapter, as well as continuously dropping messages that empower the divine feminine, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for visiting House Momentum. See you next time.